anything actually solid and consistent and legitimate. I will try to figure out what's the dark side. Like what can go wrong here? I think that's the question you always want to ask yourself in any investment. Ron C. He says, Doc, I think I didn't properly close out a put option and now have 100 shares. I paid. Okay, so you did you buy the put? So you bought a put option, which gives you the right to sell the stock at a certain price. Well, if you own the stock, then that would mean you didn't properly close out a call option. Now, here's the thing: this is not an options class, so actually, this is kind of beyond the scope of this class. So, if you have an options related question, we talk about options in drboyceprime.com. That's where students submit all their option questions. So, if you go to drboyceprime.com, you can leave that question there. Also, stockoptionsmasterclass.com is where our stock options masterclass is. But in general, I would say that if you still own the shares, then at that point it's simple. It's a buy, sell, or hold scenario, right? So if you own the shares and you're deciding what to do with them, you could hold them long term, or you can let them go. There's no right or wrong answer to that question, to be honest with you. I think it's a matter of deciding whether or not you want to actually have that asset in your portfolio. Okay. All right. So the next question is from Anthony. He says, how can I invest in treasuries in the stock market for capital preservation without pulling out of the stock market? I mean, it's easy, maybe just generally. A lot of people are investing in treasuries right now because now treasury bonds are giving like a really good, consistent yield. Treasury securities are considered to be the only risk-free asset in the stock market and or in the economy. And I doubt that. I actually think that at some point they're going to actually be riskier than people think. And the reason they're considered risk-free is because there's an assumption that the federal government will never default on its debt, like that it's never going to default on money that it owes. I think that's a bad assumption. I think maybe that assumption was accurate back in in the 1970s. I don't think it's accurate now. I think that your federal government is taking a lot of extraordinary and irresponsible financial risks. And at some point, they're going to default on something. It may happen after we're dead. But when that happens, what occurs at that point is it changes a lot of the financial models that we've been using for many, many years. Most of the financial models that we use to value stocks, during my PhD program or when I was doing academic research at Syracuse, all made the assumption that treasury bonds were risk free. I don't think that's always going to be true. Now, with that said, though, in the short term, a lot of people are putting their money into treasuries because at least you're going to get that 3-4%, 5%, whatever rates eventually hike up to, and some people like that better than risking losing money in the stock market. Also, you'll probably notice that your banks, they're starting to pay a higher interest rate on your savings accounts. So if you can't stomach what you're seeing in the stock market, if it's really bothering you to see your stock prices go down, then maybe consider going to putting your money into a savings account or into a CD or something like that. Some of them will pay you a rate that matches the inflation rate, so it might go 9%, 10%, stuff like that. Just know that that means that your money's guaranteed, but you're going to miss out also when the market takes off. So what I am doing actually, is I have some money in safe spaces, and then I have some money in places that are kind of waiting for the recovery to take place. I believe the recovery is going to occur. There's no reason to believe that it's not going to happen. The key idea is patience. So in my view, if you have the ability, the average bear market lasts about 18 months, or 14 months actually. So if you're able to wait a year and a half, 2 years, then chances are the stock market investments are going to do extremely well. All right, so let's see here. What are the ticker symbols of treasuries? The Fed wants to continue to raise interest rates. Am I able to preserve capital in this way? One thing you can do is if you go, Anthony, to something like E-Trade, there's something like, I think they call it the Bond Center, and you can go to the Bond Center and you can find all the different types of bonds that are out there that'll give you the price of the bond and the yields and stuff like that. And remember, the yield is different from the interest rate offered on the bond. So the bond might be a 2% bond, but it might have a 5% yield. And what happens is that as interest rates change, bond prices change to make it so that your return on investment matches what the Federal Reserve has determined to be the interest rate for assets of that particular risk level. Also, as risk goes up, when you get into junk bonds, which I just really wouldn't mess with right now, the yields tend to go way up. And so a lot of people are looking at things like what they call the 10-year yield, which is basically if you take the price of the bond. Remember, bond prices can go up and down just like stock prices. And you calculate, like, okay, what would be my rate of return on this bond if I bought it at this price? Then what's happened is that the yield on the 10-year keeps going up and up and up. And I think it's about 3.8% now, which is pretty high relative to the last several years. And that's causing a lot of your tech stocks to go down because the models that value tech stocks are dependent on yields that are connected to the 10-year yield. So long story short, um, uh, I think bonds are fine. I would, whatever app you're on, they probably, I don't know if Robinhood lets you buy bonds. I got to double check that. But there are also not just the bonds you can buy, but you can actually buy mutual funds that invest in treasuries or mutual funds that invest in corporate bonds. So yeah, exploring bonds might be something worth doing, particularly in this environment. All right. So Sybil asked, did you start the Black coaching program? I watched an interview with Dr. Burrows. You know what? We don't have a Black coaching program in the Black Business School. However, Tawana Burrows, Tawana Freeman, I think, well, I thought the lesson was Freeman. Well, maybe it's Burrows too. Maybe Burrows Freeman or Freeman Burrows. But she has the Black coaching program. So I think if you look up like Black coaching training or something like that online, you should be able to find something that way. I know my wife took a coaching program, but I don't remember who she studied from. But there's tons of people out there that'll train you to become a life coach. And I would look for something that doesn't cost you an arm and a leg, where you can get a certification and stuff like that. And truth be told, I don't think coaching certifications are necessarily necessary to be a good coach and to be a successful coach. I think other skills like content creation, marketing, how you run your business, how you price your products, things like that are just as important. So you probably want to learn all those factors, and instead of just learning the coaching side, because I see a lot of really good coaches and therapists on social media who don't get any traffic to their platform, and they have really great ideas and they're doing really great stuff, but nobody ever really showed them the importance of marketing and how marketing works. And I would just tell you guys this: if you start a business, you got to have a marketing budget. It's not fun. I've had to spend a ton of money on marketing over the years, and my brand didn't create itself just because I was good at what I did. I had to actually market what I had. I had to show the world that I could do what I do. And so what I see with a lot of businesses, the mistake people make a lot of times is they don't have anything available for marketing. So how are people going to know about your brand or your business if you don't market your business? Okay. So Lydia says, what's the difference between marketing and advertising? Gosh, that's a good question. I'm trying to remember the specific difference. Um, let's see here. I think marketing is broader. I really believe advertising is a type of marketing, but I don't think all marketing is advertising. So I would think, but again, I could be wrong, and this is, again, beyond the scope of the class. So that's more so for Black Money 103. That's our entrepreneurship program. I have tons of lectures in there on how I built my brand and everything else. So if you go to blackmoney103.com, feel free to go take a look at that, because that course really covers a ton of stuff. Like I've sold hundreds of thousands of books, and I've never had a book deal. I've never had a radio show, TV show, none of that stuff. I even learned how to create my own speaking engagements, because I couldn't get listed with the speakers bureaus because they don't list. The type of finance that I teach, I'm more in that Dr. Claude Anderson space, where you're almost like too radical for mainstream. But I like that, because I think that we need radical ideas in order for us to be successful. I think mainstream doesn't work for Black people. That's why we consistently lose in that area. So I lean in the direction of a Dr. Claude Anderson, where it's like, okay, let's do what we need to do. Let's say what needs to be said. Let's learn what we need to learn so we can be successful. So anyway, but yeah, I would say marketing is just sort of anything. I think if you're talking to people and telling them, hey, this is my product, here's my elevator pitch, that's marketing. You're marketing yourself. The way you look, images you put up on social media, all this marketing. Whereas advertising, in my view, would be more contrived, where you're spending money to place ads in magazines and things like that. But all of those things are really important. And I'm telling you, it's very, very hard to build a business or a platform without consistent marketing. So that's just what it is. And by the way, we actually, on my podcast, we actually have advertising on there if you want to get some advertising. Just go to drboycefinance.com, drboycefinance.com, and I'll be happy to share my platform with you. All right, so let's see here. Let's see. Natasha says, what do you think is the safest platform to purchase Bitcoin and crypto? I think we talked about that earlier. I really do like Coinbase. I use Coinbase and Bittrex. I think Coinbase is pretty safe. I know people might disagree, but I've never had any problems with it. Now, the one issue with Coinbase is their fees are a little bit higher than some other places. So that is a truth. Where do you guys keep your crypto? Put something in the chat. Let me know. List some crypto options that you guys use. Because I don't think Coinbase and Bittrex would necessarily be defined as the best. Okay, Cash App, Carolyn. Cash App is, you can buy crypto on Cash App, but I feel a little bit weird about Cash App. I use Cash App a lot, but I don't put the bulk of my money on Cash App because I just feel like I've seen glitches that just I didn't like. Crypto.com, yeah, at least I think that's a good one. Crypto.com, at least they advertise a lot. And by the way, did you guys see there's a crypto billionaire that's like wanted by Interpol, and he's wanted in 195 countries right now. And he created these stable coins called Terra and Luna. And this guy, when the stable coins, see the thing with the stable coins was they were kind of like the security for your crypto investments. It's almost like if you go to a club and there are bouncers at the club that are supposed to keep the club secure, and then something really happens and a bunch of people get killed because the security runs away when the bad guys come. That's kind of what happened with this guy's company and with the stable coins he created. So he created these stable coins called Terra and Luna. And what they promised was they said, look, these coins are not going to go down in value very much. They're connected to the dollar. They're going to be fine. So don't worry. You can keep your money in a stable coin as opposed to keeping it in actual cash, because these coins are you can easily convert them to a crypto, while at the same time they're going to remain very stable. It's just like cash, just as good as cash. That was not true, and the system hadn't been tested. So when the rubber hit the road and you really found out what this stable coin was made of, these stable coins actually just plummeted to almost nothing. So $60 billion was lost. As Mike Tyson used to say, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. So when these cryptos got punched in the mouth, so to speak, they deflated in value. They folded. They folded like a $2 bill, and now this guy he's wanted in 195 countries, and he's probably going to go to prison for a very long time. Because what tends to happen is that whenever there's an economic meltdown, there are regulators who go through the carnage with a fine-tooth comb. This is true in a couple ways. And now I'm thinking about it. Think of a financial meltdown as like a tornado, right? So remember, let's say there's a tornado and it tears up the whole city. Everything's like torn to pieces. All the buildings are crumbled down. Everybody's stuff is everywhere, right? So you have different kinds of people that will come through the tornado, right? So you'll have the rescue team that might come in and try to find dead bodies or living bodies and help people get out of the rubble. You'll have the people the opportunists who might come in and pick through the rubble and try to find some good stuff. They say, oh, there's a Walmart that got blown down with a tornado. I'm going to go to Walmart and get me some stuff. I'm going to do a little looting today. Then you might have, I don't know, some police or regulators that might go through and eventually look at the structure of the different buildings where people were killed. And they might say, well, the reason this building fell down was because you violated building code 8654326, right? And then you have the rebuilders. You have the people that come in and do the long-term work to build the community back up. I know a brother, this is a black man who runs a company. He's a young guy. This is the kind of stuff you need your sons and daughters to get put on. My brother told me about him. He's in this group called Techstars. So this young brother runs a company where he loans money to construction companies that rebuild buildings during disasters. So the construction companies have cash flow problems. This is the key in business. You solve a problem. They have a cash flow problem. They say, look, we got to do all this work, but the insurance company is not going to pay us for 6 months. So his company comes along and loans them an amount of money that's pretty close to what the insurance company is going to pay them with a discount for interest. And so he charges about 5% per month in interest. So as a result of running this company, he's on his way to becoming a billionaire. He's going to be a billionaire probably in the next 2 to 3 years because he makes literally $10-20 million a month loaning money to construction companies that go and rebuild during disasters. These are little things. And here's the thing. I don't even think the guy has a college degree. But he understands business. He understands how to solve a problem. So never forget Whenever there's a disaster, somebody's always making money, because when the world crumbles, somebody is going to get paid to put it back together again. So where was I going with this analogy? Well, in this financial disaster, that's what you have. You had the opportunists who are picking through the rubble, and they're buying underpriced stocks and underpriced assets. Sam Bankman-Fried in the crypto space probably made about $2 billion worth of corporate acquisitions, and he probably got them for about $200 million. He went to these distressed companies and he offered to buy them, to get them through the tough storm, because he had capital put to the side, because he wasn't stupid like a lot of other crypto investors where he put all his money in crypto. He did not have all his money in crypto. So he had safe assets that he can bring into the equation and buy all these distressed companies for pennies on the dollar. For you and I, maybe it means during the rubble, when the rubble's out there, we're picking through and buying these different stocks we can buy. We're like, oh, wait a minute. You mean Netflix stock is now 1/3 of the price it was back in 2020? Oh, I'll buy that Netflix stock on you, right? So ultimately, so you have the people that go through and take advantage of the opportunity by buying stuff cheap. You might have people that will go through and really make sure everybody's okay, like look for the dead bodies and whatever. So that might be like the financial regulators, or it might be the federal government. During COVID, you had the stimulus checks go out, stuff like that. And then you have maybe, then what's that next category? The next category was let me see, the rebuilders, the people that are actually going to just wait out the storm and eventually make money once it's all said and done. So ultimately, with this situation, what I want you to get out of this is that in crypto and in stocks, you have this major economic disaster that has just taken place. Everything's kind of deflated in value. What you don't want to do is run away. You don't want to go run and hide and wait for the storm to be over by taking all your money out of the markets, because this market can't go down much further. Give me 1 second, guys. I keep choking. Hope you can forgive me. Hold on. You won't believe what happened. I think I actually literally swallowed a gnat. I know that's gross, right? It's so crazy. Anyway, so let me mention to you guys. I also mentioned to you that if you log in at the blackstockmarketprogram.com, I put a list of stocks that I like for this week. The stock that is probably my favorite for this week is Petco, and the ticker symbol is WOOF, 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 WOOF. But there's about 4 other stocks. I invested, I think, in almost all of them. I think maybe out of 5 of them, I invested in 4. The 5th one I would have invested in if I just had more money to invest. I deploy all my free change, all my extra money. I'm absolutely an investaholic, and I, whenever I get extra money, I don't buy shoes, I don't buy clothes, I buy stock. I want to own as much of anything as I possibly can, and that's, I think, a good mindset to have if you want to build your wealth as an investor. All right, so let me see here. Did I get every question? Okay, let's see. Okay, so Jabbar is asking about copper stocks. What do I think about Southern Copper, or do I just go with the copper ETF Global X Copper Miners fund? I would go with the Copper Miners fund. The ETF to me is better because it allows your money to be diversified. I think that when you pick an industry that you know is going to do well, you want to be careful about trying to pick which companies are going to survive and which ones aren't. But if you invest in an ETF or a mutual fund, you're getting a piece of everything. Sybil says, I'd like to get training so I can become a life coach. What would you recommend? Okay, so Sybil, so we talked about life coaching a little bit earlier. So you can refer to the previous answer on that. Again, if you do a Google search, there's plenty of life coach training programs out there that you can find that will be helpful to you. Let's see here. Are you able to purchase A, B, and C day passes just for Saturday if you are in the local area? We do not have day passes for the All Black National Convention, but let me see here. I think there's a discount code I can offer you guys. If you go to allblacknationalconvention.com, I believe if you use the code, you can use the book club code. Use the code word book club, all one word. I think the B and the C are capitalized. That'll give you a discount on passes for the convention. The convention is October 28th through the 30th in Charlotte, North Carolina. Basically, the focus is on sort of restoring our communities, restoring our families, building wealth, connecting. We really love the idea of connecting with other like-minded people, and also it's some of our special guests are guys like Larry Miller, who is the chairman of the board at the Air Jordan brand. I'm going to do a fireside chat with him to kind of get insights into how he turned Michael Jordan's company into the behemoth that it is right now. Another one is a conversation with a billionaire, Mike Roberts. He's going to be there. He and his brother own a lot of hotels across this country. These are the people that our kids should know about, not rappers and athletes and all that. They're not the best role models in some cases, whereas these individuals are doing great things. Linda Clemens is coming in to speak about body language. She does a great presentation on how your body language can shape your ability to get a job, or to give a speech, or to communicate an idea. Even on a date, your body language matters. And speaking of that, we'll do other fun things, like Alicia's doing her speed dating again this year. That's always fun. And we're asking everybody who's coming to the convention if you could document your journey to the convention, like maybe just little 60-second clips, like, here I am getting ready for the convention, or this is what I hope to get out of the convention, or I'm getting on the plane headed to the All Black National Convention. Maybe get some clips of when you're there, because we're still working on that movie. We're working on B1 the movie, and in this movie we want to feature some of your footage. We really want it to be about you and about this movement. And so Rick Mathis, the director, asked me to ask you guys, if you're coming to the convention, if you could just kind of document some things, document your time there. If you meet me, you can document that. If you meet other people, you can document some of that. And we'll include some of that footage in the film if it works for the film. But generally, and this fits with one of our other agendas, that we believe Black people should make our own movies. I don't want to just complain about what Hollywood is doing wrong and doing right. That's their property. They own Hollywood. They own those films. They own those shows. They own A Different World. They own the things they created. I want us to own things that are ours. So a lot of these debates that happen about Disney putting a black mermaid in a Disney film, you got to remember there's a bigger debate and a more important debate that we're not having, which is what about all those animators and filmmakers out here that are making Black-owned animations that already have Black characters? There are already Black mermaids out there in somebody's movie or somebody's book. Why can't we also support that and actually own it? Because remember, a Disney character is owned by Disney. So that means Disney owns their white characters, Disney owns their Black characters, Disney owns their Latina characters. So they create this representation to give you something symbolic that feels good for you, but they're keeping all the money. So they're pleasuring you, like we're kind of the trick, I guess. Like they're making you feel good, like, oh, there's a Black lady on a Disney movie, but they're keeping all the money. They're making every single penny that comes from creating this character, and those are pennies that are being extracted from you. So I'm not saying don't go see Disney movies and don't participate. I'm not saying any of that. I'm not that crazy. But what I will say is, we have to start thinking about our long-term plan to create things that we actually own. So we make movies. We've made several films, and we're going to keep making movies. We can't make the most expensive films in the world because we don't have that kind of money. But you know what? If you read the history of Hollywood, there was a time where MGM couldn't spend a whole lot of money on a movie. There was a time where the Warner Brothers sold the family horse, and so they could just show a movie, right? They were showing moving pictures in the family barn. They sold the family horse to be able to show these moving pictures, because they had to sell the horse to buy their first projector. So, and that became Warner Brothers Studios that makes Batman and Game of Thrones and everything else, right? So ultimately, what I would say to you is, you start where you are. You maintain a vision that is clear and unambiguously ambitious, and then you just start working toward. You start moving forward on faith. So that's what we're doing. We move forward on faith. So B1 the movie is our next film, and we'd love to have you participate. We'd also love to have you come to the convention. So try just go to allblacknationalconvention.com. If you use that's Chanel, if you could check to make sure that password works. I think it's book club with a capital B and a capital C. It should take 25% or something like that off the ticket price. All right. So the next thing Kim Hitchcock says is play to earn a good way to get free Bitcoin? I don't know what play to earn is, Kim. I haven't heard anything about it. Let me look it up. Look up play to earn Bitcoin. Okay. Oh, games, Bitcoin games. Okay, powered games pay you instant rewards just for playing. Um, okay. Can I win Bitcoin through playing games? Yes, if you're interested in playing games for virtual currencies, then many online Bitcoin casinos allow you to do that. Okay, so it looks like you have to probably pay regular money to do this, but I mean, sure, if you like games and stuff and it doesn't cost you too much, why not give it a try? Next question is Anya. Anya says, "What are your thoughts about investing on the public app? Would you recommend it?" I don't know anything about the public app. If you log in at the blackstockmarketprogram.com and leave your question for me next week, I will be more than happy to look into it. I have never heard of the public app. Public.com. Okay, it looks like the social investing app. Buy any stock of any amount. I mean, it looks somewhat legitimate. It looks like you can invest in stocks, cryptos, and more. Okay. Um, okay, I mean, it doesn't look bad. I would look at some of the reviews, of course, but I wouldn't. Um, it looks like it has over 1 million users. Yeah, it looks okay to me. One thing about apps is I don't put all my money on one app because you're asking for trouble because these companies have technical difficulties and disruptions, and you don't want to lose your money if your company goes down or gets hacked. So I put my money on multiple apps. Lydia, how do you evaluate a business you're interested in investing in or buying stock in? I would, if you're really trying to make that plunge, I would really talk to a law firm that specializes in business acquisitions, so you can make sure you cover all your bases. It's because it's easy to hide information and to not have full transparency in the process and or not account for things that are going to make a difference when you buy the company. I know Gary Shelton out of Detroit, he buys a lot of companies, and one of the things that he does is he asks the current management to stay in place to run the company, especially if it's a white-owned company, and because the management is part of the value. But then also there are other issues that may come up. So you probably want to have a lawyer look into that, somebody who specializes in business acquisitions. I think definitely, complete transparency obviously is necessary for any partnership or acquisition. I've seen partnerships go bad because one person didn't want the other person to be able to look at their books at any time. I pretty much, if I partner with you on anything, I demand the right to log in and look at everything myself and see exactly how much money was made and all that. But even then, I still don't do it very often because it's very burdensome in terms of time and energy, and it's just tough to do. So that's just my thought. Latanya, what is the best place to invest in Bitcoin in a retirement account? Well, wherever you have your retirement account, wherever it's if you have it with Merrill Lynch or whatever company it's with, just ask them and just say, I'd like to invest in Bitcoin. How do I do that? And they probably have some method to allow you to do that. You can also make those investments and then just write them off in your taxes if you haven't maxed out with your IRAs and 401ks and all that. Now, you'd have to talk to a tax professional about that part. I'm not a tax expert, but ultimately, there are a lot of different ways to put crypto into your retirement account. And a lot of banks are starting to get into crypto. This is another factor that I believe is going to play a role in the rise of Bitcoin, is that a lot of these companies and retirement funds and everything are starting to find ways for their investors to get into Bitcoin because they're asking about it. BlackRock, they control $9 trillion worth of assets. They're basically digging into Bitcoin now because they have so many investors that are asking about crypto, and I think that's going to push the price up. Last question. Kalita says, I currently have $10,000 on hand, and I'd like to know a good dividend stock I can put the money into. Thanks. Well, first off, I would not look for one stock to put your whole $10,000 in. Remember, the number one rule of investing is diversify, spread your money out. If you're going to put your money into something, I will put it into some sort of mutual fund or something that gives you diversification to spread your money out. There are mutual funds you can find and ETFs you can find that invest in companies that pay dividends. Or you can also look into, say, a real estate investment trust. Those tend to pay pretty good dividends too. I would not put all my money in one company ever because that's a good way to lose it all. So what you might do is go into, if you ask me again, if you log in at the blackstockmarketprogram.com, leave your question for me. I can find some for you. But if not, you can go through your app and search for mutual funds that pay dividends, and I think even in Stash they have a category of different stocks that all pay high dividends, and you can invest in them as a collective, as a fund. That might be a good way to go. Okay. All right. So I hope you guys have a good day. And actually, dividend paying stocks are actually good stocks to invest in during times like now, because you're not getting your capital gains. Remember, a couple ways to make money on the stock. There are many ways, but a couple are to make money if the stock price goes up. Well, right now, stock prices aren't really going up like they used to. So the other way to make money is dividends. The companies just pay you, directly, and they give you a percentage of the stock price. Companies work really hard to maintain their dividend yield, because when they drop their dividend yield, meaning when they drop the amount of the dividend, it causes the stock price to crash. So they say we must protect the dividend yield at all costs, even if we have to borrow to maintain that dividend yield. Well, that's guaranteed consistent income. So dividend yield is a good way to protect your portfolio, protect your assets, even in a bad environment. So right now, a lot of people are investing in stocks that are making a profit and are paying dividends. I tend to have stocks in different portfolios. So I've got my super long-term portfolio that I don't touch at all. That's my money for when I get old. Then I have my medium-term portfolio, which are stocks that I plan to own for the next 3 to 5 years. And I have those assets available in case I want to make a move. If I want to invest in a business, or I want to go buy some real estate eventually. For example, my wife and I are going to buy a yacht, and we're going to actually, but we're not going to just live on the yacht. We're not trying to just waste money like that. We're going to rent the yacht out. We're going to charter the yacht for most of the year, but then have it available, whenever we want to use it. And if you charter it out, it's like rental property, right? It'll pay for itself. So ultimately, you want to buy into properties that will give you income, not just properties that you're just holding and just sitting there looking at. You want to actually have something where it's paying for itself. If it's paying for itself, then you can afford a lot of stuff that you might not normally be able to afford. So while I don't want to go and waste the amount of money it would cost to buy a decent yacht, it's very easy to buy one if you are sure that you can rent it out during the time that you're not using it. And those rental fees will pay for whatever the mortgage is, or whatever the debt is that you had to take out to get that thing. We're going to call it the Bolisha, by the way. Her name is Alicia, and my name is Boyce. So we're going to mix our names. I'm going to call it the Bolisha. So maybe I'll invite you guys on there or something like that. But anyway, the last thing I would say is, the last portfolio I have is my income portfolio. That's where I buy my stocks, where I sell the options on those stocks. And that's, if you're in the Prime program, drboyceprime.com, if you want to go take a look. Basically, these are companies that I own for one specific goal. I generate income from these stocks. Every week, I sell the options on the stocks, which basically is like you're selling the upside. So it's like having some puppies, and you're selling. They're breeding puppies, and you sell tickets to people who want to buy tickets to own whatever babies the puppies have. Right? Do you see what I mean? So if the puppies have a big litter of dogs or kittens or whatever it is, right? You don't get to keep that, right? You have to give those to the people who paid for the ticket. So ultimately, that's what selling options is kind of like. It's like I'm selling you whatever this upside is to the stock. I don't even need that. I just want to own the stock so I can keep selling the upside. And I do that every single week, and I generate income that way. So if you want to learn how to do that, and I share the whole list with the students, stuff like that, just go log in at drboyceprime.com. PRIME. It stands for Passive Recurring Income Machine. Passive means that you're not working for the income. So, you want to eventually get your wealth to the point where you're making money without working. That's extremely important. You don't want to work for the rest of your life. You don't want to work yourself into a grave. You want to be in a position where you're generating some sort of income that doesn't require you to get up and do anything for anybody. Recurring means recurring income, because our bills are recurring, so your income should be recurring. Getting paid in a lump sum is nice, but I like kind of having the consistent cash flow. So Passive Recurring Income Machine, drboyceprime.com. Feel free to go take a look. I think there's a code. Chanel, is it maybe try that code book club again and see if that gives you a discount. If that doesn't work, I can create a code and give it to you guys. And if you email support@theblackbusinessschool.com, if that code doesn't work, email support@theblackbusinessschool.com. Ask them to give you a code, and you can join at a discount price. We meet on Thursday if you guys are interested in taking a look at that. All right, so I'm out of here. Does it work, Kevin? Okay, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that. The options class is going to be Thursday night at 8 p.m. I'll send you guys an email and a text message, actually probably today and tomorrow. So we will meet very soon. What does the E stand for in Prime? You know what? It's just the E at the end of the word machine. People have asked me that. It literally means nothing. It's just so ME is like the word machine with the M and the E at the end. Get it? That makes sense. So anyway, I thought I was being fancy and cute, but maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm just being corny. But either way, though, it's a lot of fun. I'd be happy to share with you everything that I'm doing with my own family. Hopefully, it'll help yours. It's a tough time to invest right now, though. It really requires a lot of consistency and resilience. All these ups and downs can be kind of crazy and scary. There's also what you call a wealth effect, which is, you see your portfolio go down, you feel broke. When you see your portfolio go up, you feel rich. And I want to help you work through some of that, because all that's really, to some extent, a figment of your imagination, because a lot of these losses are unrealized losses. If you're not selling the assets, then who cares if it went up or down by 10% that day? It doesn't make a big difference in your day-to-day life. Not to say it doesn't matter. It does matter. But this too shall pass. It's temporary. It's like when I was 18 and my girlfriend dumped me, my first girlfriend. I really loved her. It happened to me. Not that it's TMI, but she was the mother of my daughter. And I love this girl. I'm kidding. I thought God only invented one set of female body parts and gave them to her. Like, I love this girl to death. And she dumped me, and it broke my heart. And I really thought that I would feel this pain forever. But as you know, eventually it goes away, and you move on, right? You have brighter days in the future, right? Now I'm with my lovely wife, and I love her so much, right? So ultimately, this is kind of what investing does to you. It messes with your head. It can cause you tremendous amounts of anxiety, stress, depression, and everything else. That's why I brought my wife into the Prime program, because my wife is a therapist, and that is her specialty. She specializes in things that Black people need to understand, like trauma. She has a certification in trauma. Trauma affects your stress level, your anxiety level, your depression level. Black people have unbelievable amounts of trauma, which creates stress and depression, and it's typically undiagnosed, and it typically goes untreated. So when I had a meeting with Tyler Perry one time years ago, he called me on the phone. All these guys call me. These celebrities call me. I never called them. I don't care about celebrities, but he called me and we talked. And one of the things that Tyler said that I really thought about, since then, is he said that he likes he said, I don't like wearing the Medea costume. I'm not going to wear it anymore. And I was like, yeah, right. So 10 years later, he's still wearing it because it's $1 billion asset, right? Why would he throw that away? But he said that Medea allows him to give therapy to Black people who won't go see a therapist. I'm sorry, but Medea is not a replacement for real therapy. Do you understand? Medea is not a replacement for therapy. So ultimately, that sort of healing, that sort of ability to kind of reframe things, it applies deeply to your economic situation, because economics is the number one stressor, both on an individual level and also in family relationships and family dynamics. Think about how many times somebody got shot or went to prison because they were desperate to go get money. Think about how many times somebody married somebody they didn't even like that much, or dated somebody or slept with somebody just because they were desperate for money. So ultimately, I brought my wife in to do financial therapy. This is something we do in the Black Business School. I haven't seen anywhere else. And she does it every 2 Sundays, and she does it for free for the students that are in the Prime program. So, this is another little benefit of being in that program that you may want to take a look at. I encourage you to take advantage of it, because I will go ahead and confess, like, I love therapists. I love my therapist, because what I find is that even when I feel relatively mentally healthy, there's always another level I'm trying to go to. There's always a better guy, a better man I'm trying to become. And my therapist helps me reframe my life in a way where I can become that man. I can see things in the way I need to see them to have the life I want to live. So if you really talking about living your best life, and this goes far deeper than money, I'm talking about real wealth here. I'm not talking about financial wealth. I'm talking about real wealth here. If you really want to live your best life, I encourage you to incorporate some sort of healing and emotional medicine that you can take on a regular basis that's going to get you where you want to get to. Don't just self-medicate. That's what a lot of us do, and it creates all these problems and addictions and mistakes. Okay. All right. So I didn't mean to be long-winded, but I'm hopeful that this conversation helps you in some way. And I'm going to get on out of here, guys. It was great talking to you this week. Next week, we'll meet again Tuesday morning. If you want a recording of this session or any of the other sessions that we've done, just go log in at theblackstockmarketprogram.com. All the recordings are there. Everything's there. All the trainings are there. All the extra bonuses are there. There's so much stuff in there. So utilize your membership so you can get full access to everything that we have to offer. We want to make sure you become the perfect investor, and I can give you the tools to get there. All right. So please have a great day, everybody. God bless you, and I'll see you soon. Take care now. Bye-bye.